You've just bought a new plant. You get it home, pop it on the windowsill, and for a few days it looks amazing, and you're thinking, this time it's going to work. And then it doesn't. Within a week, the leaves are drooping, it's going yellow, and before you know it, you're left with another sad, crispy stick.
Now don't beat yourself up because it's not really your fault. The truth is, lots of plants you buy are already on borrowed time. And there's one hidden reason in particular that will not only kill your plant, but also put the rest of your collection at jeopardy.
That's what I'm going to show you in this video, along with how to stop it happening again.
Let's start with what I think is the most common reason plants fail, as well as the most sinister. And it's something most people don't even think about when they're buying a plant in the shop. But after watching this video, you'll know what to look out for. You'll be the one who takes home a plant that actually thrives, while the person next to you is falling into the same trap as everyone else.
Now, the single most important thing you can do when thinking of buying a plant is a little bit of due diligence. Spending a couple of minutes to do a few spot checks really will go a long way.
Most folks grab a plant and glance at the leaves quickly and that's it, off to the counter they go. But if they stop for just a couple of minutes to check it over properly, they'd notice what's really going on below the surface.
That the plant they're holding is probably crawling with tiny wriggling insects that are literally bleeding the thing dry. Yeah, indoor plants aren't grown in vacuums, and most do come with an exotic mix of bugs that at best annoy the bejesus out of you while you're trying to watch the latest episode of And Just Like That, and at worst bring down everything you hold dear in your home.
A bit overly dramatic, yes, but you'll see what I mean, because it's not just about that one new plant dying. The real danger is that these pests don't stay put. They're intrepid explorers that love nothing more than to spread quickly and quietly, turning your new plant into an army base from which more attacks can be launched.
And if you've already got plants in the house, it could be curtains for all of them.
Now, there are a bunch of pests that can wreak untold damage, from thrips to mealybugs to fungus gnats to aphids, but for the sake of keeping things brief, I'll focus on spider mites.
On the surface, the plant you just picked up might look fine. Maybe its leaves are a little dull or the edges look slightly faded, but there's nothing too dramatic that screams disaster. The problem is though that spider mites are almost invisible. They're the size of dust specks. Unless you're really looking, you can't really see them crawling. But while you're admiring your new plant, they're already multiplying fast.
By the way, spider mites come up as a cause to plant anxiety in my free plant problems troubleshooting handbook that you can nab for yourself in the description to this video.
Download it, have it on your phone on standby, and then have a look when you're not sure about something on your plant.
Now, spider mites thrive in the exact conditions that make plants suffer: dry air, low humidity, and stressed leaves.
At first, the damage is subtle. Tiny pale dots appear on the leaves where the mites pierce the surface to suck out the sap. The plant looks a little tired, maybe less glossy than before, and you think it just needs water or fertiliser. But behind the scenes, the mites are reproducing at a terrifying speed.
A single female can lay dozens of eggs, and in warm, dry conditions, those eggs hatch in days and populations explode overnight.
And then you see it, the giveaway sign, fine webbing stretching between the leaves and stems. By the time webbing is visible, the infestation is already severe. But the horror doesn't stop with one plant. The shocking reality is that spider mites spread like wildfire.
They travel on air currents, hitchhike on your hands when you touch another plant, and even cling to your clothing. It really doesn't take much to turn yourself into a mite highway to that healthy fiddly fig in the corner, or that prize monstera that you've had for years. And within weeks, one infested plant can turn into a household outbreak.
So what can you do? Well, it starts in the shop. I know it's tricky with the shop's poor lighting and all that, but try and have a really good nosy in all the nooks and crannies of the plant.
How far you go with this really is up to you, but the more time you spend here, the less likely you are to have regrets further down the road.
In the case of spider mites, you're looking for those very fine webs around the stems and leaves. For mealybugs, look for little blobs of what looks like cotton. Aphids are easier to spot and will be sat sucking the newest stems and leaves. And thrips will look like tiny little black dots on the leaves and stems, and they're an absolute menace.
If you see any of those, or you're simply not sure, then just walk away. It's not worth the gamble. The stress of dealing with a pest outbreak is not good for the soul.
Next is to assume every new plant is guilty until proven innocent. no matter how well you think you checked. Like I said, the light is often poor in these shops, so it's hard to spot absolutely everything. This means we should assume there is something hidden somewhere on the plant.
Now I know this sounds like an almighty faff, but the best thing you can do is quarantine your new friend away from the rest of your collection for at least a couple of weeks. It sounds bonkers, I know, and it's completely at odds with what you really want to do with your new purchase, but in my book it's better safe than sorry.
Keep it in a separate room and check it closely every day if you can, looking at the underside of the leaves and whatnot. Spider mites love to hide where you won't casually glance.
Once your quarantine period is over, your checks really shouldn't stop there. This should be an ongoing routine that you do along with watering and fertilising. Watering takes 2 seconds and inspection takes another 2, but it really can save your collection.
As I said earlier, it's dead easy for pests to spread. Doors get opened, mites travel in on the wind, they settle on a plant, you touch that plant, the mites hitch a ride and jump off on another plant you're pruning or watering. So check, and check some more. And the little pro move that makes this checking malarkey quick and easy is to spritz your plant. Mist really does make spotting webbing 10 times easier.
If you do spot something untoward, then act fast. The first step is to wash the plant down thoroughly, especially under leaves and along the stems, to physically remove as many mites as you can.
Spider mites and aphids are dead easy to dislodge in this way, but mealybugs and scale can be trickier. A cotton bud laced with rubbing alcohol will be your best friend in this case. After you've washed the plant down Shawshank style, use a pesticide that's safe for indoor plants, and repeat. One treatment won't solve it because eggs keep hatching. You need persistence, checking every few days until you've broken that cycle.
The truth is, you can't always avoid bringing home a plant with hidden pests, but you can stop those pests from spreading. Once you understand how spider mites work, you'll never look at a bargain shelf plant the same way again. Because sometimes that cheap plant isn't just a little weak, it's actually a Trojan horse.
Now even if you dodge that bullet and your plant comes home squeaky clean, it's still not out of danger. Because the truth is, the way shop plants are raised sets them up for a shock the moment they leave the nursery. Every plant you see in the shop has lived a very different life before you ever laid eyes on it.
Its story starts in a greenhouse, and not the little glass shed at the bottom of the garden. We're talking glass cathedrals the size of football pitches, packed wall to wall with plants. And inside, the conditions are dialed into perfection. Temperature, humidity, automated irrigation, even the light is engineered.
Sounds ideal, right? Well, the problem is, paradise doesn't build resilience. When a plant grows up in these conditions, it never has to toughen up.
It's like raising someone on 5-star room service and spa treatments and then dropping them in the middle of a campsite in the Peak District. They'll look fantastic on the surface, but the moment they're asked to light a fire or sleep in a tent, they crumble.
The first real-world shock hits the moment you set the plant down in your home. Light, or rather lack of light. Plants live on light. It's their fuel, their food, and as Barry White says, they're everything. And what looks bright to you or me often feels like twilight to them. We think a room is bright when a plant would see it as permanent dusk.
At home, light is patchy and weak. The majority of spots we choose are far too dark. That's why you'll often see a general slump of unhappiness within about a week. The plant simply can't make enough energy to support all that greenhouse growth.
So what's the fix? You've got 3 options. First, placement. Try to be ruthless here. Forget about where the plant looks nice, put it where the light is, right up against your brightest window, especially for sun lovers like succulents or cacti. It's why so many of my plants have their butts facing the room. I've sacrificed aesthetics for plant health.
Second, match the plant to the spot. If you've only got a shady corner, then don't torture a calathea there.
Get a snake plant or azizia instead, species that can tolerate lower light without giving up the ghost.
Third, bring in backup. A grow light might sound over the top, but honestly it's the closest thing to a cheat code for plant care.
Clip-on LEDs on a timer from Santi can turn a gloomy corner into prime real estate, and 12 hours a day is absolutely perfect. The next invisible shock is humidity.
In the greenhouse, plants are surrounded by moisture-rich air, then the plant comes into your house and what does it get? Central heating, drafty windows and air so dry it's closer to the Sahara than the Amazon, and we get the inevitable crispy brown leaves.
But this is where a lot of advice goes wrong. You'll hear just miss the leaves or stick it on a pebble tray, but neither make a meaningful difference. A quick mist is gone in 5 minutes and pebble trays shift the humidity about as much as leaving a wet sock in the room.
The hard truth is, unless you're ready to live in a greenhouse, you can't really recreate those nursery conditions in your living room.
So what do? Well, basically you let the plant adjust. The leaves that grew in paradise won't survive forever. They'll brown, crisp and fall off, and that's fine. What matters most is the new growth. Once a plant pushes out fresh leaves in your home, those leaves are tougher and hardened to your environment.
Your job is to help it through the adjustment. Keep the plant in one stable spot instead of moving it around, accept some losses, and when older leaves are far too gone, prune them away so the plant can focus on the future.
There's one more silent killer we haven't touched on yet, and that is the soil your plant comes in. Most shop plants are potted up in the cheapest mix possible, usually with lots of peat. It holds on to too much water, suffocates the roots and does your plant no favours once it's home.
In this video here, I'll show you exactly how to make a soil mix that your plants will absolutely love the simple way. So watch you next, and I'll see you there.